Hello students, welcome to chemistry online classes of our Sri Guru Independent PU College of Science Kalburgi. As we are meeting first time, let me introduce myself. My name is Avinash Kulkarni. I am working in the chemistry department of Sri Guru College since last 10 years. It is 11th year in Sri Guru College. My native place is Latur in the Maharashtra. I have done MSc in physical chemistry and I have completed B.Ed, which is nothing but Bachelor of Education. So today we will start with the important topic from physical chemistry in the first year. Some basic concepts of chemistry, very important topic. In theory examination, it carries around 8 marks. There will be one question of 1 mark, one question of 2 mark, one question of 5 mark. Total mark carries 8 mark. In entrance examination also, in KCET, in the KCET examination around 2 to 3 MCQs from this question, from this topic will appear. In NEET and JEE main examination also, we come across 1 to 2 questions, and it is numerical question based topic. So many numerical questions we have to solve in this topic, and to solve numericals, your theoretical concept should be very strong. You try to learn how different concept we came across in this topic. So we'll start with the name itself. The name is some basic concept of the chemistry. So first we should know what we mean by chemistry. So you might have learned the definition of chemistry in bridge course also, you have been taught in school level also, you have learned. But as it is a part of our syllabus in the textbook, let me revise that definition once again. We can say that it is a branch of science. The first thing we came across this word is a branch of science. Now what we mean by science, as you have taken admission to the science course, you should know, or you might already know what we mean by science. We can say that we can define it in various ways, but try to understand the definition which I am explaining now. That there are various effects in our surroundings, and there are definite causes to it. We can observe various phenomena taking place in our surroundings. For example, we say average temperature of the earth is increasing, or there are many unseasonal rains we see in different geographical parts, or there are many drought-like situations. So we say that weather pattern is completely disturbed throughout the globe. So this effect is seen in our ecology, in our surrounding, and it has different causes. Science tried to establish the relationship between these effects in the surrounding and the causes. There are various disciplines which does that, but science has very unique way to establish this relationship, and this uniqueness lies in what type of methodology it follows. So one of the basic thing in science is the observation and the experimentation. Observation and the experimentation. So what scientist does to try to establish the relationship between cause and effect? They observe the phenomenon, they carry out the experiments, they collect the data, and they try to build up theory out of it, and then ultimately it leads to the various laws. Of course, it depends on the particular situation which steps are to be followed. But this cause and effect relationship is followed in a certain way. We say that we are following the scientific method and we are learning the science. I will take this example. You might have again and again heard about this, that in say China in the month of December, there are few persons which are suffering from, we can say, fever and difficulty in breathing. And when they reported to the doctors might have thought that this is a common cold or the seasonal flu which every season the person suffers from. So this was the effect seen in the patients, and this might be the observation of the doctor initially. But that gets converted or it gets escalated into the lung infections. Then doctor might have thought that it is a pneumonia. Then they observe that if it is seen that it is highly infectious, then they might have observed, or they might have thought that causes viral infection. But as the infection is very large, they thought that the viral is new virus, and then they named this all highly infectious, lung infection, fever, difficulty in breathing, sometimes resulting to death. They call it as COVID-19. Right. So this causes and this effect has been correlated by continuous observation. And once they come across this virus which causes COVID-19, they isolated virus, and then they decided that vaccine should be invented on it. So vaccine trials started. There are various trials. After that, when it is successful, we will have mass production of that vaccine, and then vaccination. So it started with this just observation, the underlying cause from common cold to flu to the vaccination. So this journey, it followed certain steps. We call it as the scientific method. And when they were isolated virus, they suggested people that they should wear masks, they should have social distancing, they should sanitize their hands frequently, and they should boost their immunity, right? So these things comes under the science. If we compare this situation, if this might have happened in 1920, 100 years back, then what we called COVID-19 in 2020, we might have called in 1920 that it is just a curse of God. Maybe God wants to punish us, and because of that, this type of disease has been spread up. So you can see the difference. The more death rate would have been there, and all these SOPs, we call it as standard operating procedures, they would not have any clue about this. We are talking about vaccine now, and people would not have imagined vaccine for such a disease. So that is the difference what science makes in our daily life. So it is a enterprise the scientist enters into and follow certain procedures and explain the various effects in the surroundings. So it is very noble branch of learning, isn't it? As you know science, you will come to know exactly how it happens. I have just given the example. Of course, I have given this example very roughly because human mind works on intuition. So maybe the steps followed are not strictly. If you learn the history of science, then you will observe that it is the curious minds which probe the phenomenon around us and they go for such investigations. So this is about the word science we have explained. What exactly we learn in chemistry? What exactly we learn in the chemistry? So we say that in branch of science, there are various branches of science, but how chemistry differs from those branches, which deals with study of, yes, now we are talking specifically about chemistry, structure, composition, properties and interaction of matter. So we are surrounded by this matter. You know what we mean by matter. It is anything which has mass, which occupies space, and its presence is felt by one of our five senses. Either we can touch it, we can smell it, we can hear it, or we can taste it, or we can see it. Any one more than that. Air, we cannot see it, but we can feel it like that. So maybe one of five senses are being applied and we felt its presence. That we call it as the matter. It is present in countless forms around us, isn't it? Everything is matter. We say what we see, the definition just now we have seen, which has mass and occupies space and felt by one of our five senses is a matter. So countless form it is present, and of that matter what we learn is first we'll see composition and then comes structure. So we want to know how this matter is made up of. For example, if we take this beaker and we have to do analysis, we have to follow the procedures to know which elements are present into it, and we found that it is chemically H2O. The mass ratio is being 1:8. We'll see how this mass ratio comes into it. So first is we want to know its composition. Then after composition we want to know its structure, how this hydrogen and oxygen are arranged in this particular chemical compound. So this is the structure. You have to learn this chemical bonding. There are two bone pairs and we say that it is bent and it is V-shaped structure. It is like V. So the structure of matter, composition of matter, and the properties of matter. The third thing we learn is the properties. Properties means what is its color, what is its smell, what is its density, surface tension, viscosity, melting point, boiling point, some physical properties. Chemical properties, how it reacts, whether it is acidic, basic or neutral, whether it burns itself or it helps in burning or it stops burning. All these things we learn in chemical properties. So we have to learn the properties of the matter also in chemistry, and also we learn the interaction of one matter with another matter. For example, in chemistry we are also interested that if we add sodium chloride into it, what happens to sodium chloride? What is the interaction of sodium chloride with water? Whether it is disappear or it remain as it is, or if we add oil to water, what will be interaction between the matter, the various kinds of reactions, chemical reactions taking place in matter. So for this matter, we are interested in structure, composition, properties and interaction. So we can say that a branch of science which deals with study of composition, structure, properties and interaction of the matter. So very vast subject. You can just look into these aspects and will realize that how broad scope it has in our daily life. If we consider the matter, if we consider the matter, then this matter can be classified in two categories. That this matter of course we can classify in various ways, but this matter, some matter is in the living form and some matter is in non-living form. When matter is in living form, we learn it in biology, plants and animals, from microorganisms to well-developed animals, we learn it in biology. When it is in non-living form, we learn it in physics. And chemistry deals with both these forms. This is the uniqueness of chemistry, that it deals with living matter as well as it deals with the non-living matter. For example, the principles of chemistry can be used in understanding the function of brain in organism which is present in living thing, as well as the principle of chemistry can be used in the operation of computer or in the operation of satellite. So it is a branch which has vast presence in every branch of the science. It is present everywhere. So relatively a new science, but assumed very important role. If you want to learn biochemistry, chemistry is there. If you want to know the material science, the various advanced materials we are producing, like carbon nanotube or very small size substance, but it has very high strength. Chemistry is again the science which is to be used to prepare such substances. So it is very important branch of science. Now where it is used, just now I told, it is used everywhere. But as we are learning it first time, we should know what are its applications. If we start with its application in medicines, the chemistry has contributed tremendously in the development of these medicines. We are hoping for vaccine. And again, vaccine is nothing but in one or other form is chemical, right? So medicines and in health, chemistry has contributed tremendously. There is one medicine called as cisplatin and Taxol. They are used in cancer therapy. Azithromycin is used in the treatment of AIDS. Antipyretics, they decreases the high fever. Analgesics, they reduces the pain. Then tranquilizers, they reduces the mental stress. Antibiotic, disinfectant, antiseptics, then anti-pregnancy drugs, synthetic vitamins, tonic. The list is very vast. All these are nothing but the gift of chemistry to the mankind. So it has very important role in the medicine. If we consider the agriculture, for this growing population, particularly in our country, which is, we say it is developing country, where resources are very scarce, the crop production should be very large, and for large crop production, fertilizers are needed, insecticides are used, pesticides are used, herbicides are used. All these are nothing but the chemicals, and these chemicals plays very important role in the increase in the crop production. If we consider our food, which is nothing but chemicals, and in this food we are adding some food preservatives like sodium benzoate, or we are adding artificial sweeteners, or we are adding flavoring agents. All these are nothing but chemicals in one or other form. So chemistry is extremely beneficial in the form of food. If we look at the industrial products which we are producing, we can say synthetic fibers. If we again depend only on the plants to meet our demand for clothes, it is not sufficient. Those naturally occurring fibers, they are very less for this large population. So we have invented synthetic fibers like terracotta, terylene, rayon, like that. And all these are prepared artificially. Then we are using very large amount of plastics material like bakelite, Teflon, polythene, which we use in daily life. They are again nothing but the gift of chemistry to us. Then various paints which we use, which makes our life colorful. They are also the gift of chemistry only. Then these soaps and detergents which makes our work comfortable, used in cleaning of clothes. They are also chemicals in one or other form. Then carpets, floor tiles, all everywhere. If you look into the materials which we are using, they are in one or other form. They are nothing but chemicals, and we are preparing them on the large scale in the industries. Then if we look at our comforts in daily life, we need air conditioning. The air conditioners are nothing but chemicals are used into it. Perfumes, they are nothing but chemicals. Various cosmetics products we use, they are also nothing but chemicals only. So our comfort, our convenience is also managed by various chemical compounds. And if we look at energy, we need energy consumption of a average person is increasing. We are using various devices. So this energy, either it comes from petroleum, either it comes from coal, or it comes from solar energy, or maybe nuclear energy, or we are thinking about hydrogen as a possibility of the fuel. They are all nothing but the chemicals. So our energy demand also can be addressed by the chemicals. So this application which I have listed, there are very few. Chemistry helps us in making our life more comfortable and more convenient in such a manner which is beyond our imagination, even our emotions, the emotion of fear, emotion of hatred, emotion of love, controlled by hormones, which are again nothing but the chemicals. So if we go on just correlating this, everything is nothing but chemistry, chemistry and chemistry. So very beautiful subject we are learning. Of course, it is not very simple sometimes, because we have to increase our imagination. But this is the way in which science is learned. You have to make again and again attempt understanding it, and ultimately you will succeed. Right? So These are few applications I have listed. As you learn chemistry, more and more you know that how it contributed to our daily life. So these are the applications of the chemistry. Now from where to start? Because just now we have realized that very important subject used in every field. So we start with the matter. We start with the matter because it is the main part which we learn in chemistry. We said that composition, structure, properties, interaction, matter we are learning. So when we learn matter, start learning matter, only one way to simplify the study of matter is to classify it. Otherwise it is very difficult to learn because it is present in countless forms. We are saying everywhere it is. And if something is there which is everywhere, from where to start to learn it? So we have to classify it so that we learn the various aspects of that classification. And in that process, we broaden our understanding about the subject. So we have to classify this matter in two ways. One is we call it as physical classification. Another is the chemical classification. Or it is based on chemical composition, and this is based on physical state. So first we will see this physical state, then we will go for chemical composition. I know that this part you already learned in school level and in bridge course also, but as this is the part which is explained in our NCERT textbook, so it is your duty also to once again go through it. It is kind of revision for you, and you may understand new aspect of this classification. So if we look around us, we can say that the matter exists in three different physical states. Maybe it is existing in solid state, liquid state, or in the gaseous state. Now what are the differences in this solid state, liquid state and gaseous state? We can take this example as ice, which is at very low temperature, exists in solid state. The liquid water exists in a room temperature, is in a liquid state, and water vapor, we call it, exists in a gaseous state at very high temperature. So there are various differences in these three physical states. We first start with the difference of shape of this matter. We say that solids, they have definite shape. If we take this cube, small cube, and if we put it into this container or large container, it will retain its shape, it won't change it. But for liquid, we can say it is not definite. If we put 100 milliliter of water in this beaker, it will assume the shape of this beaker container. And if we put the same in this type of chemical glass instrument used in chemical analysis, conical flask, it will assume the same quantity. It assumes the shape of container. In gaseous state also it is not definite, because if we enclose gas in container, it will occupy whole shape of container and it assumes the shape of container. If it is 1 liter like this, it assumes the shape like this. If it is spherical, same 1 liter, it assumes the shape of that container. Then we can say another difference is of volume. We will say it is different. We have formula. If it is cube, if it is cylindrical, if it is spherical, if it is conical, we have formula to calculate it. Different formulas we can apply and we can calculate its volume. For liquid, the volume is definite. Either you keep it in this beaker or conical flask, 100 milliliter water will be 100 milliliter only. It only differs in a shape but not in the volume. So the volume is definite for liquid. But if this container is 2 liter, then it occupies whole of that container. So you can say in gaseous state, the volume is not definite. It assumes the shape as well as volume of the container. Liquid assumes the shape of container, but its volume remains same. But solids, the volume as well as shape is definite. It won't change by just changing the containers. Then we can say surface, number of surface. Solids have many surfaces. Liquid has only one surface. And gases, they do not have any surface. Right? It has, if it is cube, it has 6 faces. If it is some another orientation, it will have different faces, many faces. Liquid only this one. This one. Surface. And gases, they do not have any surface. So this is also one of the distinction feature of these various physical states. Another one we can say that if we consider the melting point, substance, temperature at which substance melts, it is above room temperature or solid state, because substance is solid at room temperature. This is solid at room temperature. When we heat it at very high temperature, it gets converted into liquid state. So the melting point is above room temperature. For liquids, already substance has been melted, so you can say it is below room temperature. And for gaseous state, already it has been liquid in room temperature only, so you can say that it is also below room temperature. For boiling point, it is in solid state. First it gets converted to liquid state, melt, and then it boils. So it is above room temperature. In liquid state, it is in liquid state, still it has not yet get converted into gaseous state, so it is above room temperature. And for gaseous state, already it is present in the gaseous state, it means it is below room temperature. We can have many differences, just we will see 2 more, because then our understanding regarding these properties will be more clear. So first is shape, second is volume, third is number of surfaces, Fourth is melting point, boiling point, and then we consider about interparticle distance. In solid state, they are very close. In liquid state, there is small space into it. In gaseous state, there is large space. So interparticle distance is greater in gaseous state compared to liquid state than the solid state. And seventh one we can say interparticle forces of attraction. They are greater in solid state because distance is small, so they hold very firmly. It requires more force to break this because force is strong than in liquid state, than in the gaseous state. So these are 7 differences, nothing new. Only thing is that we are revising it because some other concepts we have to build up on the basis of this explanation. So I hope that you understood all these concepts: definition of chemistry, applications of chemistry, and the classification of matter based on the physical state. You have to make your own notes. When I write on board, you start writing in your notebook so that you will have a better understanding about the subject. Printed notes will be provided in the college. That also accordingly you have to follow. And if some doubts are there, you can call and clarify those doubts. So thank you for watching this video.